Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover today, so do me a favor before we dive into these topics. If you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like, and if you are new here to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We're starting here talking about the upcoming Forspoken DLC. We know that Forspoken didn't do too well, but I do know that there are some people on the channel here who did pick the game up and really did end up enjoying it. And I'm sure that some of you are curious about what this new DLC is going to be about. So it's been revealed that the DLC is called In Tanto We Trust. It's coming out on PS5 and PC May 26th. However, if you purchased the Digital Deluxe Edition, you'll be able to start playing it on May 23rd. So you get a little bit of early access there. It's also been confirmed you will be able to purchase the DLC separately by itself, but we don't know how much it's going to cost. Now, this is going to be a story expansion that's set about 25 years before the events of the base game, involving new characters. It's basically going to center on some kind of historic battle that brought madness to the once wise Tantas. The environments in this Forspoken DLC have been designed more vertically rather than horizontally, allowing Frey's parkour abilities to shine in both exploration and combat. There's also a new set of magical abilities that can be unlocked to add powerful attack combos to Frey's already impressive arsenal. So yeah, there you go. That is what you can expect with the upcoming Forspoken DLC. I'm curious. Let me know down in the comments below if it's something you're looking forward to and planning on playing. Next up, we have the monthly PlayStation Plus Essential Games revealed for the month of April. For April, we're looking at Meet Your Maker, which is a day one PlayStation Plus release. We're also looking at Sackboy: A Big Adventure and Tales of Iron. Now, all three of these games are both PS5 and PS4 titles. And again, this is the essential PS Plus lineup. So they're going to be available starting April 4th. Let me know your thoughts on the PS Plus Essential lineup for April. But moving on to the next topic, we have a new report regarding PlayStation VR 2. This comes from Bloomberg. They're saying that PSVR 2 has apparently sold around 270,000 units between its launch in late February and the end of March. They're also claiming that this falls well short of Sony's projected sales. And on top of that, we have the Vice President of Data and Analytics at IDC claiming that the low sales of PSVR 2 are due to rising costs of living, rising interest rates, and rising layoffs. And he goes on to say that he fully expects Sony to cut the price of PSVR 2 in order to avoid a complete disaster. And that's how it's being framed, that essentially what we're seeing here with these PSVR 2 sales numbers is potentially disastrous. Now, I feel like that's maybe a bit extreme. I think it's a bit too early to determine whether or not PSVR 2 is a complete flop or if it will end up being successful. What I gather from this is that Sony must be playing the long game with PSVR 2. That's not to say that it'll guarantee its overall success. It might still fail in the end, but we also want to take into account that, number one, these numbers are not coming from Sony. Sony has not reported on PSVR 2 sales, so we have to take it with a grain of salt, obviously. But on top of that, Sony's chief financial officer, Hiroki Totoki, recently said that he believes there's a good chance that ultimately PSVR 2 will be able to outsell its predecessor, PSVR 1, which sold around 5 million units during its lifetime. So this is why I think Sony is likely playing the long game. Surely Sony was aware when they launched PSVR 2 at $550 that right now most people's main focus is just securing a PlayStation 5. We are just seeing the shortage come to an end. So, with that in mind, most people probably aren't thinking about PSVR 2 right now. They're probably just thinking about getting a PS5 and upgrading. I think that as we go further into this generation and as Sony begins to reveal more PSVR 2 games, the chances of PS5 owners, wanting to invest in PSVR 2 naturally goes up. Again, I'm not saying that it's guaranteed that will happen. For all we know, PSVR 2 could end up being a massive flop to a degree in which we've never seen before. I just don't necessarily think that we can call it right now. I think that it's too early, and we have to kind of see what ends up happening over the next couple of years. And I think maybe by 2025, 2026, we'll have a much better idea of, how PSVR 2 has performed and whether or not we can determine if it was a success or a failure. But right now, it just seems too early. And, I also just want to add that it's not necessarily surprising to me if PSVR 2 is failing to meet sales expectation, because I will admit that leading up to the launch of it, I didn't really feel that much hype for it. I mean, there were certainly those who were anticipating it and excited for it, but I just didn't get the feeling that this thing was going to explode sales-wise out of the gate. So we'll have to pay attention to this and keep watching PSVR 2 and see what ends up happening. Moving to the next topic, we have yet another update regarding the Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC. You can definitely tell that Guerrilla and Sony are ramping up the marketing for this DLC. So over on the official Guerrilla Games Twitter account, they say here, "Meet the machines. The Water Wing is a medium-sized flying machine that can dive deep underwater. It is highly maneuverable, and when disturbed, it is an unrelenting foe. Get ready to take the plunge with this epic new machine in Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores." And accompanying this announcement on their Twitter, they also put a short minute-long trailer kind of showing off what really is our first look at gameplay with this Burning Shores DLC, and it looks incredible. I mean, Horizon Forbidden West on PS5 is one of the best looking games I ever played, and after looking at this trailer, it looks like they somehow made it look even better. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to playing this, and it's cool that they're starting to kind of show off some snippets of gameplay, give us a better idea of what to expect. I think the big question that people have is because they're putting such an emphasis on flying in this DLC, is whether or not there's going to be like new gameplay segments where you're kind of like battling in the air. To me, it feels like that would make sense, but they haven't necessarily shown anything like that. So we'll have to kind of keep our eyes peeled and see if they end up revealing anything like that. But moving on to the final topic of the video, the PS5 continues to set new records. This is being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle. Sony's PS5 console has set a new monthly sales record in February 2023. In the US, the PS5 sales were the highest ever for any PlayStation console during that month, beating the previous record set by the PS2 in 2005. At the end of January, Sony announced that it had increased the supply of PS5 consoles worldwide, and they would now be far easier to find. According to Matt Piscatella, who works for the newly renamed Circana, formerly NPD, improved supplies have certainly helped the PS5 console to be the best-selling US hardware platform in units and dollars for both February 2023 and the entirety of 2023 so far. Sales were also driven by new games like Hogwarts Legacy and strong performances from earlier titles, such as the resurgence of The Last of Us Part 1. The release of PSVR 2 was also one of the reasons why accessory spending increased despite decreasing sales of controllers. So to me, what's really interesting about this is it shows a clear disconnect. We are seeing the PS5 continue to break records. I mean, it's coming out here and breaking a record that the PS2 has held since 2005. And this is during a time where the past couple of months, if you have been paying attention to the gaming media or a lot of headlines or just kind of, seeing what's being said or listening to what's being said on the internet, there's been a lot of negativity when it comes to Sony and PlayStation. A lot of people saying, Sony's taking L's here, taking L's there, so on and so forth. And yet, when we get the factual data, right, it reveals that turns out people are going out and buying PS5s. People are going out and supporting PlayStation in a very significant way. This data doesn't just show that the PS5 is doing okay and it's doing relatively well. This data shows that the demand for PS5 is not going down even a little bit. So it's pretty clear here when you look at the factual data that comes out, right, that there is a major disconnect between what people would have you think and what they would try to have you believe versus how people really feel. Turns out that the overwhelming majority of people are in support of the PS5 and what Sony's doing with it. Turns out that the overwhelming majority of people don't really care about, you know, a lot of the stuff that's going on and a lot of the stuff that people are focused on and talking about, even stuff that I'm talking about to a degree, right? Turns out that what people care about is, you know, what's this console offering? What games does it have? Does it have must-play games? And I would argue that the PS5 absolutely has must-play games. I mean, just even with my video that I put out yesterday in my comments section, I've seen multiple people, because now it's confirmed that Naughty Dog is going to be releasing some of their games on PC or developing games for PC going forward. They're, you know, saying it's time to jump ship, time to sell their PS5, and like, more power to you if that's what you want to do, but surely you have to understand that you are like the 0.01%. The reality is 99% of people who are buying their PS5s simply do not care whether or not Naughty Dog is going to release their games on PC. They want to buy a PS5, they want to play their games on PS5, and that's what they're going to do. And I think that, you know, it's also worth pointing out that right now, Sony doesn't have any major releases. I mean, maybe God of War Ragnarok is still pushing sales. I could see that being a reality, but the next major game is not coming out until June, that being Final Fantasy 16, which will definitely be a system seller, and then later this fall, Spider-Man 2. And so, yeah, clearly Sony is doing something right here, and I thought it was important to kind of highlight this because, look, I'm not saying Sony's perfect. Of course, they make their mistakes, and there are things that they can improve, right? And as somebody who is a big fan of PlayStation, I do want to see them do more. I'm hoping they're going to do more relatively soon. We all know that we've been waiting on that showcase. But yeah, generally speaking, the PS5 is in a really, really good spot right now. And the final thing I'll say is that for those who are wondering why you should maybe care a little bit about sales, it's simple. If you're somebody who buys a PS5, the thing you want to see and have happen is massive developer support. The better the PS5 does, the more support it's going to get, the more that developers are going to pay attention to it and prioritize it as a platform where they not only want to release their game, but they want their game to be as appealing as it can be. So on the consumer level, that's why it's good to see the PS5 doing so well, because if you're somebody who made the investment in this console, developers are certainly noticing and paying attention and prioritizing. So anyway, that does it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.